Hey everybody, welcome into Rock Painting 101. I've been seeing a lot of quilt rocks lately. I did a really quick one over on TikTok of just a basic pattern style quilt, but today we're going to do something a little bit fun and different, using kind of the quilt style to create a fun heart rock. You know how much I like to do heart rocks to hide around town, so this is no exception. For this, I just got a regular rock. It's just base coated white. I only did one coat of the white. You can see it's not even super thick. We're going to be covering all of this anyways. It just helps when you have white underneath your acrylic paints to help that color really pop without doing multiple layers of paint. So the first thing I'm going to do is sketch my patches on here, and I want to have a heart in the center of my patches. So I'm going to work that shape on here first and then extend out and over the edges. So I'm gonna do my heart with square edges because, you know, that's how patchwork kind of tends to work. We're not gonna do any round edges. So our heart's just gonna be more of a patchwork style. I do wanna have these coming slightly down on the sides and then down the middle. Now, in order to make the patches look really neat, you want your squares or pieces of fabric to be large enough to have some sort of pattern to them, some sort of design. So once you have your heart on here, we got to decide how we're going to cut this in to our fabric pieces. So I'm going to actually go right down the center. I played around with a couple designs first here, and then I'm going to do this. So I have a triangle and a triangle. We want to keep them bigger sections because you want to be able to see the cool pattern, whatever pattern you decide to do on your fabric. Now from here, I'm going to take the lines that I already have and extend them all the way out and over the edges of my rock. And where they intersect, we're going to create some natural patches of material that are going to be on the outside. And then we will also create a couple more lines if we need to when that's all said and done on our rock. Now, once you have all those lines extended out, you can decide if you want to, if you end up with a really large piece, if you want to cut that anywhere, or you can just leave them as they are. They're going to be draping over the edges anyway, so it's kind of up to you. Now, we're going to start by filling in all of our pieces solid colors first, and then we're going to create the fabric design on top of them. I'm gonna do pinks and purples as my base colors inside the heart. I have pink and purple here. And then on the outside colors, I'm gonna have the bases be like this teal and blue. So I'm just gonna take one color at a time and start filling in these sections of my designs. And I'll speed that up as I'm going along, but I'll let you watch. But yeah, just take your time and get the color in there nice and solid. We are going to line this eventually, but you still want to get it as close to that pencil line as you can. So I left some of the spots on here white because I'm actually going to use some of the colors to create patterns. Like that's going to be a different swatch in there. As you can see though, as the paint is drying, some of these colors do need a second coat. So I'm going to do a second coat on these. I won't even put that in fast motion, and then we'll pop back and start designing. So once all of your patches base coat are settled, you can start deciding what you want the designs on each one of your pieces of fabric to be. Now, since these are kind of still smaller areas, don't go too extreme with your designs. You can have things that are abstract, more patterned. That's up to you really, and what kind of design you'd like to have. So we're going to start with a few that are a little bit more on the simple side for you to check out. So I've got my white paint here. I'm going to use a dotting tool. If you don't have a dotting tool, you can get toothpicks or something along those lines as well. But we're just going to do polka dots on our purple swatch of fabric. So super simple. I'm going to do them in a line along the seam and then alternate them. So I'm going to do them far enough apart that I can alternate on the next row. Don't have enough paint there. There we go. So see, far enough apart here that the next row I can alternate them. Like that. Okay, now you can decide, I like to kind of turn my rock a little bit so that the pattern is slightly different. So I'm going to do them right down the center here, and then we'll work in both directions. So we got our polka dot pattern there. So on the red, I'm actually going to come back in with yellow. And we're going to do kind of like a zigzag, like a not quite chevron pattern. I'm going to get a pretty small brush here. This one's a liner brush, the 10/0 one. And I'm just going to get a nice little bit of paint. And we're going to do zigzags. Now, if you are a paint pen person, I'm normally a paint pen person, but I thought I would do these with acrylic. You can do lots of fun designs with those as well. Almost reminds me of Harry Potter. Okay, so same fabric, but you can turn just to give the design a little bit more changes, I guess. I don't know what word I was looking for there. This one would be right there, okay? So this is basically the technique that we're going to use to fill all of our shapes. We're just going to come up with fun patterns that we like for our fabrics and start filling them in. Now on this one, I'm going to do flowers. So I'm actually going to take my dotting tool right into the yellow that I already have here, and I'm going to place centers on these flowers, and I'm going to use a dotting tool to do the pink around each of them. So I'm going to do them very spaced apart. So there's plenty of room around them. You can have them close to an edge if you want. We're going to do a lining at the end around all of this, remember. So you want to get close to that seam, but we'll have a black go over it. So we'll clean up anything where it's touching. And so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so now I'm going to go back in with my, I'm going to use the maroon color, and we'll do these flowers. And all I'm going to do is place we're gonna do probably 5 dots around each one. I'm gonna use the same dotting size as I used for the center. So I'll show you one, and then we'll speed it up and show a few more, and then I'll probably just jump forward to our next pattern. See that? Just a cute little flower. Okay, so now next I have some of these white ones, and then I also have the blue. For the blue, I'm gonna do stripes. So for the stripes, you're gonna wanna get yourself a nice liner brush. I'm gonna do white stripes across it. I'm gonna do these first so I can pull into some of these white areas. It will help me. Lining with a brush is not, well, even lining with paint pens, straight lines, isn't my extreme high level skill, but that's okay because this is for fun and it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be really cute when it's done. So I'm going to start here in an area, being very careful not to touch any of my flowers that I just did. And we're going to create little stripes straight across, light pressure. See, look at that, my little shaky hand. Just light pressure though. You don't want to push down too hard. If you push down too hard, that's what creates that like wide amount of paint. So you just barely get your brush down and create your stripe. Just try to keep them equal distance apart. Okay, and the last but not least, in these little white areas, I'm gonna just almost do like a confetti style where I'm using all of the colors that I've used on the rest of the rock to kind of speckle in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna open each of my colors here. Actually, not all of the colors. Maybe I'll just use a couple of them. Maybe I'm just gonna do purple and teal. I think those will look pretty together. I'm just taking my smallest dotting tool here. I'm just gonna put some paint on and I'm just gonna kind of dash around inside of the purples, just little dashes like this. And if you want to make the sound effects, I think it works. You don't have to though, so. And just in all different directions. Pull it in different ways too to give your streaks different looks. Leave little amounts of paint on. Do a few on each one because it will give them different sizes and kind of textures. Fill these in. I'm pretty sure I had a 2-piece outfit with a design like this on it when I was a little girl growing up. I'm pretty sure we created it with puffy paint. Who remembers puffy paint? If you did puffy paint on your clothes as a kid, give a big thumbs up below. All right, so the last one we're gonna come in with is the teal. Same thing, just these little kind of dash lines. And I'm gonna do dashes towards where I have teal on the rock anyway, so I can have them kind of go over the seam. Since I have a good amount of those spots available for me, you will make the finished look better because your fabric patterns would go all the way to the edges, you know, most of the time. I know I edit a lot in these videos, guys, but just remember the amount of time that I've been filming this video, even though it's probably showing not so long for you, with all the speeding up and the panning forward, I've been painting for nearly an hour right now. So just so you know, we aren't all whipped up in 10 minutes. Okay, so this is the final step for these. If you have a really good lining hand, feel free to do this with acrylic paint. I just don't, and I'm not afraid to say so. All right, so just make sure your ink is flowing well, your paint's flowing well, and we're going to do each one of these lines, and I like to add a couple little stitch marks, 1 or 2, just really helps pull off that quilt pattern look. So I'll start between an area where I know it's nice and dry. Try to do one solid line all the way across, and on the long ones I tend to do 2 hashes like that, and then work your way around. I will speed some of this up so you can watch a little bit, and then we'll probably pan forward at the end, but I'll finish this one patch all the way around, just like that. So I'm gonna get rolling here. And we're just adding a couple last little hashes around here, but this one is done. Make sure you doodle off the tip, just in case you had any wet paint on there. Along the edge, I just created an edge. You can kind of finish it up however you want. You could have it go all the way around your rock if you want to. That would take a little bit more patience and dry time. However, our heart quilt rock is finished. So you really have the quilt pattern, and the heart just kind of sets in there. That when you look at it, you see it kind of stand out a little bit, but it's not super bright, I guess you could say. You could do a higher contrast of colors if you wanted to, or leave the pinks out of the outside and things like that. But I just really wanted it to be subtle and just tucked away in this cute little quilt style rock. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Make sure you let me know what you think in the comments below, and we'll be back soon with something new for you to try out here on Rock Painting 101. Bye-bye.